So I went to a basketball game this weekend, and for halftime, they have halftime entertainment and all that stuff. And this time, they had these things called the Superstars. You've probably seen these things. They're like giant, oversized, inflatable animals that kind of jump around and bob around and do routines and stuff like that. They're at all kinds of games. You've probably seen them on TV. Well, I'm sitting there at halftime watching this thing, and two guys behind me start talking. And this is verbatim what they said. First guy. Hey, Jim, there's people in those things. Jim says, yep.
We're back and causing trouble. I figure at the pace I'm going, I should probably hit like 80 subscribers before midsummer. So I'm sure YouTube's already trying to figure out a way to put a stop to us and shut us down before we melt our hard drives and have too much fun. So let's just try to get it all in before they figure us out. So in the last video, I talked about some of the tips I like to use to buy the most car for the least amount of money, and some other just, best practices for shopping for the right car, and avoiding some of the bugaboos that can kind of work against you when you're doing so. And if you're one of the 20 or 25 people who watched that video, I thank you. Now we're going to talk about the other side of the equation, which is marketing and selling the car, so you can kind of get top dollar for it as quickly as possible. So just some background here before we get into the weeds. I've sold a number of cars over the years, most my own, but I've also been hired on a commission basis to help others market and sell their personal cars too. I guess folks saw the success I had with my own stuff and they were impressed, so they paid me on a commission to more or less handle the marketing of their car. So I like to think I've got a lot of experience in this, and I like to think I know what I'm talking about, but I wouldn't call myself an expert. I hate the word expert. There's no real membership card or anything that qualifies anybody as an expert, but what I can tell you is my methods seem to work, okay? And take it for what it's worth, but others seem to agree, and they've asked for my help in selling their cars. And I've sold, not just cool cars, not just sports cars. I've sold Nissans and Acuras and E30 BMWs, high mileage cars, Porsches, trucks, everything. So, but the basic tools I use are more or less the same and universal no matter what kind of car I'm trying to sell. But that said, the cooler and nicer a car is, usually the easier it is to sell, just because it's kind of got a really cool angle to it. That's kind of just common sense. So I'm trying to think of any car I've ever sold that I sold for less than I bought it for. And I'm kind of struggling to think of any. Now part of that is, I think I do a pretty good job of buying cars at or below market value. So the chance I probably break even or make a profit are pretty good to begin with. If I overpay at the beginning, then that's just going to make it harder to get my money out of it later on. So, let's just, if I have any examples in this video, let's just go on the presumption that whatever we're talking about, I didn't overpay for it to begin with to take possession of it. Okay, so what's the first thing I try to do when I'm selling a car? Well, I need to get a handle on what the general market value is first. So I'll do some legwork. I'll check the internet, KBB, NADA, just everywhere. Just get a price range of similar vehicles in similar condition and what they're selling for. And once I have that number, then I'll decide the parts of my car that are strongest, and then the parts of my car that are the weak points. And if my car is like a clean high mileage car, then I'll sell that as kind of a high mileage but survivor. If it's a low mileage car or something, I'll sell that angle. If it's an unusual color combination or whatever, I'll try to make that the focal point. Maybe the car I'm trying to sell is for somebody else and they're like a 30-year club member. I'll try to sell that. I mean, it doesn't really matter what the angle is. You're just trying to find something unusual that distinguishes it from all the other cars that are for sale. And sometimes that's just going to be easier said than done. If you're trying to sell like a Toyota Corolla, good luck to you, man, because there's going to be a million of those for sale at any one time. So you're going to have a harder time separating yourself from the pack. Now, if you're trying to sell a Maserati, you get the idea that it's going to be easier to corner the market on an interesting piece of information about that car. So once I have my ballpark market range, I got a price range, and then I kind of develop my sales angle. Then I'll go about creating what I call the sales material. This is really the grunt work stuff. This is the stuff that's gonna really sell your car. This is the stuff that's you're gonna send when someone requests more information about your car. There's only so much stuff you can talk to somebody with in an ad, over the phone or whatever. And this is the stuff that's gonna separate yourself as kind of the guy people wanna buy a car from, so to speak. And I'm gonna come back to that often here. I'll create detailed PDFs about the car. The options, the ownership history, major service history, any improvements or upgrades to it, just everything. So I try to be as thorough as possible in creating these things to cover as many of the questions as I can. So when an interested buyer wants more information about my car, boom, I send them the PDF, and that's going to answer like 90% of the questions that they want answers to, and it's going to impress them as well. So I'll also round up all the receipts that I can find for the car, the maintenance records, and I'll create a detailed spreadsheet of everything that's ever been done to the car. I mean, at least everything I have a record of, and that could be the stuff that I've done to it since I've had the car, or it could be maintenance records that I gathered from a previous owner when I took ownership of it from them. But you collate all that stuff, and you just want to be as thorough as possible and type A as possible. And the goal here is to just give that sense of, Jesus Christ, this guy is so meticulous, and detailed. He's off the reservation. He's the guy I want to buy a car from.
Boy, that sounds familiar.
The more people you can make it ease, the more people are going to be willing to play ball with you and give you a second phone call or come out and take a look at the car in person and be more than just a tire kicker. And that's the whole idea with this. You're going to all this trouble because you want to weed out the fuck sticks. These people are just going to make your life miserable when trying to sell a car. I can't stress that enough. Time is money, and the longer it takes you to sell the car, the more time and money and aggravation it's going to cost you. You can sell a car in 5 days, or you can sell a car in 5 months, but do you want to be answering the phone, every day for 5 months, talking to every asshole in America who wants you to sell the car to them for free or something like that? So the answer to that is usually no. And where people go wrong and selling the cars, they half-ass the selling part of it. I mean, in my opinion, at least 50% of the equation, along with the car itself, is the sales job. A good salesman can sell ice to Eskimos, so it's going to pay you to do the extra legwork up front, and have your shit together and have all your materials ready, so that you're more or less ready to go and you've got the car ready to sell itself without having you to make love to it for every person that comes out and wants to see it. So this extra effort at the beginning is going to save you a bunch of time at the end when it's actually on the market. And all this is going to come back to save you money at the end when the offers start coming in, and you're typically going to get stronger offers, and you're going to get more frequent offers too if you do this legwork. You just are. So now, okay, we've created these detailed reports that I've talked about, these spreadsheets I've referred to, the PDF sales files, all this stuff. Now we need photos. And again, here's an area you can't half-ass it. And I'd say 95% the cars for sale tend to get half-assed in this department. I'm sure there's a lot of great cars out there hiding behind shitty-ass photos taken on a phone camera that probably make an otherwise really terrific car look like a turd. So I go back to my fundamental point on all this. Do you want to get top dollar or not? If not, then don't listen to anything I've said. If you do, and you want to make the bucks, you gotta, make it look like only a complete moron would pass up this car, or at least pass up inquiring about it. And the photos need to be so good and tasty, man, that, when people see it, they're like, man, I got to make a phone call on this. I've got to check it out, even if it's a little bit out of my price range. So we're going to take nice photos. And here's the pisser in all this, where almost every car ad flunks the course, man. You got to take the pictures when the car is clean. If the car isn't clean, boys and girls, you got to clean the living shit out of it before you take the photos. Getting top dollar isn't supposed to be easy. If it was, everyone would be getting it. So if you want to pull down the big bucks, you're going to get out of this exactly what you put into it. So you're going to have to clean the car before you start snapping photos. And by cleaning the car, I don't mean, just wiping the windshield down with 409 or something. I mean, when you're selling a car, it needs to be as clean and pristine as any time you've ever owned it. And if the car's been a pigsty its entire life, or that's the way you live, then you're going to have to change it. You're going to have to change all that quickly. And I'll throw this out too. If I see a car, for sale on a car ad, and it's got photos of like dirty carpet or floor mats, or, there's frickin' French fries in between the seats that I see, I'm not even inquiring about it. I'm done. And the reason is, if I'm buying a car from someone who's such a lazy ass that they don't even have the time to spend 20 minutes vacuuming out their floorboards or vacuuming out the, back carpet, I'm just, I'm done. Why should I give them my time and attention if I can clearly see that these people are, out to do the absolute minimum as possible? They're trying to cut corners. I mean, what other corners are they cutting? Do they change the oil? Do they ever replace the brakes? Probably not from where I'm sitting. So if you can't do the small stuff, there's really no reason for anyone to think that you're doing the big stuff too. Especially when the small stuff, it really doesn't cost you any money. I mean, it's just a little bit of elbow grease. That's all it is. And besides that, do you really want to buy a car from someone that thinks so little of that car that they don't even bother to keep it clean? So that's not the impression you want to give out. You don't want to do the bare necessities and see what you can get away with. If I'm the buyer, I'm wondering, gee, what else are they trying to get away with? Maybe they're totally bullshitting me about the good points of the car. I don't know, but they could try to be selling. Are they selling me a lemon? I don't know, but that's the way you have to think. And I'm probably not the only one who thinks that way either. So just go the extra mile to clean the car out, give off a good first impression, and it's going to save you a lot of time and aggravation in the end. It just is. You've got to put in that legwork at the very beginning. So I bring all this up just to underscore that, underscore how important it is to, spend that extra time to clean the car out. And it doesn't just mean, vacuuming it out and, running it through the spray and wash down the street or something. You need to spend a good week or more, just, at a minimum at least, to get that car ready. And it just depends on how far gone your car is. If it's really far gone, it might take you longer. If you keep it up, daily or weekly, it's probably not that much of a big deal, but you should at least be shampooing the carpets out. That's a 3 or 4 hour job. It's not a big deal. You just got to, bust your ass for a little bit and, bend your ass like a pretzel and get under your dashboard and in your back seat and stuff with a Bristol brush and some cleaners and stuff, and just go to it, man. It's, it's not rocket science, and you don't need to make it rocket science. Clean the dash and the door pockets, the center console stuff. I mean, the seats, you got leather seats, clean the leather seats, treat the leather seats. It's probably worth cleaning the trunk out. Gee, that doesn't take very long. Open the hood, clean the engine bay. I mean, you should spend at least one day cleaning the engine. Get some rags, get some cleaner, and just go as far as your hands can reach. I mean, you don't have to, you don't have to eat off of it, but it's amazing how much you can clean the engine bay and just take years off the car, just with an afternoon of detailing it. So, the bottom line is you get one chance to make a good first impression, and that's it. And if you don't get any do-overs, and I found that clean interiors will tend to sell better than clean exteriors. And the reason for that is, it's kind of hard to tell from photos how pristine and clean a car is on the outside. I mean, if you shine enough lights on a car on the outside, or set it in the sun or something, I mean, even a really bad car will look halfway respectable. But you can't really fake that on the interior, and that's kind of where we live. Most of the time, anyways, with our cars, we're inside of it. That's what we see most of the time. And let's face it, most people are slobs anyway. So if you can show everyone that you're like the anti-slob, well, I mean, that's just going to make you stand out even further. So, you've worked your ass off. You've cleaned the interior of the car. That's as nice as it's going to get. You've cleaned the exterior. That's as nice as it's going to get. And I'm not going to go into what you need to do on the exterior. If you want a detailing video or something, there's plenty out there, or I can create one for you. But for this discussion, we'll just say you've checked all the boxes, and everything's looking good now. So now it's time to take the photos. And I mean, there's no sense in taking the photos until the car is clean, right? So yeah, there's a method to the madness here. There's an orderly way of doing this, and unfortunately, most people get things out of order, and that's where they go wrong. It seems simple, it seems straightforward. Apparently people have a problem with it though, so that's why I'm explaining it. And here's just a suggestion too. I'm not saying you have to follow this strict rule, but I'm just kind of, throwing it out there. Don't take photos of your car, when it's like, parked in front of the city garage dump, or in the Walmart parking lot, or behind the bowling alley or something like that. You might need to drive a couple miles and find a good spot to take some photos. And unless your house looks like the Biltmore, which it probably doesn't, mine doesn't, I probably wouldn't suggest you taking photos of your car in your driveway either. Okay, nobody wants to see the pink flamingos, in the lawn. Nobody wants to see your kids' artwork in the front bay window. Nobody wants to see your other car that's like, with a tarp on it, with jack stands underneath it in the garage. You're giving off the wrong vibe, man. Don't do that stuff. And for the love of God, man, don't make the biggest mistake of all. And that's taking photos of your car in your driveway while the driveway is still wet from you, like apparently washing the car 20 minutes ago. I can't tell you how many, for sale ads I've seen where I've seen that. I mean, nothing screams, oh, fuck, I guess I better wash the 10 years of bird shit off my car before I take a picture of it and sell it. Quite like the wet, soapy driveway photo. Nothing kind of screams last minute like the wet, soapy driveway photo. So don't do that either. So just, even if you just go down to the local park or something and take some photos, it's going to be 20 times better than that. And you don't need a $10,000 camera or anything to take good photos. If you got a good camera phone, you can probably get away with that. But, a lot of people have nicer cameras nowadays anyway. So if you've got one, just go to the hassle of using it, dust it off, and take some photos with that. They'll probably come out better anyways. And if you want to take some, nice zoomed in photos of your car, of the emblems, the wheel emblems, the steering wheels, and kind of make them nice and cool, knock yourself out. You can certainly do that. I would probably talk you out of taking those like French, 45-degree angle goofy ass pictures of your car. However, that's not really the kind of impression you want to give off. Okay, now we're kind of in business, and we've got our photos, we've got all the marketing and sales materials that we've created. We've cleaned the car, on the inside and the outside as best as we possibly can. Photos are ready to go. So now it's kind of time to make the sausage. So depending on what kind of car you're trying to sell, I'd like first focus on like the model specific forums on the internet. And that's because the forums are kind of already a target audience for you. They're doing an audience participation sort for you because these people they already like whatever you're trying to sell, okay? You're going to get a much higher hit rate by trying to target your advertising towards places like that where they appreciate those cars. And people like them are probably looking to buy a car like the one you're trying to sell. Just probably typically get more offers, really, and better offers because they know what they're looking at. Now, sometimes that can work against you. I mean, sometimes you'll get like a troll, and they'll post everything that's possibly wrong with the car. But I've kind of found that people tend to appreciate good cars and good, well cared for cars, and especially good cars that are sold well and advertised well. And keep in mind, we've created all these marketing materials to die for. Now we're going to stand out, and everyone else's ads are going to look terrible. So this is where we're really going to shine. So I think it's to your advantage to really try to sell your car on the internet forums first. So post all the stuff that we've created there. Allow folks to download the PDFs, the maintenance histories, the all the other pieces that we've created, and then post like 15 or 20 of the best photos you took, and embed them in the forum ads. Okay, don't just put the hyperlinks there so people have to click somewhere else. People are lazy. You want to make it easy for them. You got to spoon feed it to them. And be honest about the car. People like honesty. If you're a car club member, stroke that angle. If you're an original owner, play that up. Just play all the right notes, play all the right angles, and make a good first impression. Now, having said that, you can post, an advertisement in Auto Trader or your local yokel, rag or whatever it is. I wouldn't dissuade you from doing that. You'll get a lot more eyeballs doing that, but you'll probably get a lot more tire kickers too. But taking out ads in those places anymore are so cheap. Probably, no reason why you shouldn't. So you can certainly play that as well. If you belong to a car club, the car club newsletters, regional newsletters, local newsletters, they usually let you take out free ads, so you can place an ad there as well. You just don't want to rely on any one source. You want to, get as many threads going as possible. I wouldn't take out any ads in newspapers, though. Nobody reads the classifieds anymore, really. And newspapers, for the most part, are dead, so you're just throwing money down the toilet there. So try to stay online. So now the phone starts ringing, and people want to take a look at the car. They do all the usual stuff, and some may be interested, some maybe not. Some might make an offer. Eventually, you start getting some bites here now. Now, if you've done everything I've told you, you're probably advertising the car at or above market price, whatever that is, market value, fair market value. Unless your car is like so far gone, there's no hope. But the asking price, if it's above market value, that should have already weeded out some of the low-hanging fruit and, just some of the low ballers. So that the folks now that are still getting in contact with you, who still want to play ball, they haven't been scared away by the price. So they may be more serious about their inquiries. And like I said in the buying video, you can always come down in price, but you can't go up. So just, from time to time, you need to zip it. If I told you when you're the buyer, make sure the seller throws out a concession price off their original asking price. But now everything's flipped around. It's just the opposite. Now you're the seller. So you don't talk turkey until the buyer throws out a counteroffer, okay, to your asking price that you posted in the ad. They need to post something on the wall for you to consider, because you've already done that, okay? And until then, you're not offering up anything. You don't say jack diddly until they come back with a counteroffer to you. So, let's just create an example here. Let's say we're asking $32K. Let's say Blue Book is $28K. But now, remember, ours is super clean. We clean the shit out of it. We're the kind of guy someone who likes to buy a car from.
Boy, that sounds familiar.
And all that happy stuff. So, anything over 28, we're probably making out okay. Anything over 29, we're probably with house money now. So between 29 and 32, now we've got some room here to build some profit. And, just never act like you need to sell a car. That's where you're going to get your money, because you don't need to sell a car. That's the attitude you need to have, even though you really need to sell the car. And so when someone asks, hey man, why are you selling this car? It looks really nice. Well, you don't need to tell them much. Just say you're thinking of moving up to something nicer, or, if it doesn't sell, you'll just keep driving it because it's a great car, and just leave it at that. You don't need to give details about your personal situation with them. It's none of their business. So don't do that. You just need to, have a good poker face when it comes to negotiating, just like I told you in the car buying video. If you think someone is trying to lowball you, but you've seen that gleam in their eye when they looked at the car, you might need to show some patience and kind of let them walk their price up a bit. Remember, car buying, it's a funny thing, man. It's like an emotional response to something, by definition. I mean, they're trying to satisfy a hunger somewhere, whatever that is. So just keep dangling that carrot out in front of them until they bite, and eventually someone will. You might need to beat them up a little bit, to make sure that they know they need to buy that car from you rather than you needing to sell it to them. So, just, try to, reinforce that as much as you can. And that's where all this legwork pays off. You just remind them, hey man, I'm the kind of guy you want to buy a car from, or gal.
Boy, that sounds familiar.
And they're going to overlook, that last $1,000 difference between, what you'll take and what they're offering and stuff, because they want that peace of mind, and that has a cost to it. I mean, a good car buyer is going to know that, and they're going to buy a car where the stories are known, and they don't want to make the mistake of buying a car from the wrong person and buying an unknown. And good buyers will appreciate that and pay a premium for it. I've done it, and I've sold cars to people who've done it. So just make a habit, of remembering that. And remember what I said in the car buying video too. I mean, you're the seller, so you're personally being interrogated as much or more as the car you're selling. And if you've sent all the right signals, okay, you've done everything I've outlined, then you've eliminated all the scary what ifs in this process. So once you and the car kind of pass the smell test, then it's game on. And from my experience, all that shampooing and buffing and detailing and waxing and polishing and the marketing materials and sales materials and PDFs and spreadsheets and all that stuff, that's where it's going to pay off from you right now at the end of it. So you didn't go all of that trouble for nothing, for free. I mean, it was like labor, paid labor at the beginning, and now we're at the end of this now, and this is where it's going to pay off. Okay, it was a means to an end. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the long-winded broad flyby, I guess, of the main points I kind of wanted to make. I mean, there's probably a whole lot more I could talk about, and I'm sure I forgot a few things. And if I did, certainly, post them in the comment section and, and share them with everyone. Selling a car, it's just like selling anything, really. You get out of it exactly what you put into it. There's no free rides, so just set yourself apart from everyone by creating that marketing environment where everybody believes nobody could love that car or take care of that car better than you. And those are the kind of people that buyers want to buy a car from. And those are the kind of people that, those kind of cars are going to command a better price. Especially, when the buyer might be, 2,000 miles away or something, or on the other side of the country, and the internet's filled with scoundrels and dickheads and certainly a lot of uncertainty. So if you're the kind of guy or gal that can create that environment of certainty and reassurance, you're going to get more bites. So yeah, good luck with that. But those are just some of my pointers. I'm working on an upcoming video on the myths of buying and leasing cars. I mentioned that in a prior video. I've kind of been wanting to do a manifesto on that for like 10 years or so to correct everyone else's just royal BS on it. I don't know, I might have to break it down into 2 parts. I hope not, okay? I mean, rest assured, not all of these videos are going to be this long-winded. I mean, my God, if they are, we're in trouble. But some of these early videos were just, I thought they were kind of topics that kind of deserve some extra thoroughness to them, I guess. And plus, it's like also in the middle of winter here in the Midwest. I mean, it's not easy to get outside this time of year. The weather sucks. The roads are full of salt and stuff. I mean, all that jazz. So we're kind of stuck inside here until the weather breaks. But there should definitely be some things to keep us occupied here in the man cave for a while, and I'll try to work on those things when I can. Please like this video if you liked it. Give it a thumbs down if you thought I should give you the last 30 minutes of your life back. And for those who haven't yet, please subscribe. Hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Take care.